Inside the Pizzatola Sports Center from the east side of Providence and the campus of Brown University. You're looking at our final regular season home meet of the year for the Brown Bears. It is senior night as the Bears play host to the University of Bridgeport. For our entire outstanding ESPN team, my name is Mike Rubin. Thanks for making us a part of your Friday evening, one that promises to certainly be an emotional one for the Bears as they were able to get the ball rolling in there as they look to keep their ball rolling heading into this part of the season, playing competing really well, and as talking to head coach Sarah Carver-Milne, hitting their stride and peaking at exactly the right time with just a few days away from the regional championships here, GACs that'll be held next weekend. And really, I think one of the things talking to Coach Carver-Milne this week has been the resilience not only of this Brown team, but really an opportunity tonight to celebrate the seniors, and certainly a class of 2022 that she has a great deal of pride in. So, as the Bears, again, prepare for today's meet and their final dual meet here at home, this weekend's matchup later against UNH, Penn State, and Southern Connecticut up at UNH on Sunday, and then the GEC Championships that'll be held back here in Providence in just a few short days, and we'll have all that coverage as well. They're introducing the Purple Knights. We're going to take a step aside, and we will have the Brown Bears and Bridgeport on the other side of this timeout.
Doctors at University Orthopedics have been caring for the people of southeastern New England for more than 40 years.
And we welcome you back here to the Pizzatola Sports Center on the campus of Brown University. The introductions have been made, and the teams are making their way to their first events. Now, because there are only two teams here today, there is a little bit of a different way of going about things with the lineup, in that the teams are going to go through two rotations at a time in terms of the events, meaning that Brown will start on the bars and then move to the vault, while Bridgeport will be on the vault and then move to the bars. And then they will switch to beam and floor for Brown. Opposite that, obviously, floor and beam for Bridgeport. The Bears have taken on Bridgeport a couple of times this season. They're no strangers to each other. Last week it was Brown topping the Purple Knights right here at the pits by a 194.6 to 184.725 score. The Bears had a pretty good day last weekend here against the Purple Knights, and in particular, some of those results that we'd like to highlight here on today's event. Julia Bedell on the vault, scoring a season-high 9.825. Over on the bars, a 9.975 on the bars for Maylee Costa, a new school record, and easily outpacing the competition. Catherine Doran of the Purple Knights did score a 9.9 as well. Maylee Costa, one of the results she had on the bars was, in fact, a perfect 10. They're in the warm-up phase now, so we've got a couple of minutes before the judges, before we get going on the actual first round of this event. Elsewhere last week, and there's Maylee Costa right there, one of the seniors. And again, we'll talk about the seniors throughout tonight's event. Coach Carver-Milne just could not say enough about this particular group. In fact, a unique experience. We don't really want to focus on what everybody already knows about last year's struggle and the fact that what Ivy League athletes and athletes around the country dealt with over the last couple of years. This senior class kept this team together, and something that Coach really emphasized as we spoke was how this team came together as a team. And student athletes who are involved in the gymnastics world at the Junior Olympic and the club level are often competing individually, and having to come together as a team very, very different. And that's with juniors spending a couple of years away from true competition and some of the freshmen and sophomores having never competed at this level. And the juniors, again, their season's shut down at a very early level. Some of these seniors not having a ton of touches on the mat and still being really true ambassadors for the sport, critical to the development of this team in the locker room, and just some incredible, incredible young women. And that's something that certainly we should all be proud of, whether you're a fan of the Purple Knights or the Brown Bears. So they're going to finish their warm-up touches. They'll be back to start the first rotation when we come back in just a couple of minutes. Bears and Purple Knights from the pitch. This is Ivy League and college gymnastics here on ESPN.
It's time for your Brown Bears Top 10 Plays.
And we welcome you back here to the pitch. The Bears are on the vault. There's a look at it. And already getting going here on the bars are the University of Bridgeport. They'll have on the bars Catherine O'Coin leading off here, along with Alexis Richardson, Kiana Sesha, Gabrielle Jordan, and Catherine Doran. We'll see how she transitions from the first. There's O'Coin, the first year from Austin, Texas. And a pretty good landing for O'Coin as well, who last week managed just an 8.0, no, that was on the vault, I'm sorry, a 9.225. We'll try and keep a look on the live look at the statistics here today. And here come the Bears on the vault, and with a pretty good landing, much to the delight of her teammates, was Lauren Kramer. We're going to get another look at Kramer's 9.625 was her season best coming in, and a little hiccup at the end there on the landing. But, you know, as Coach Carver-Milne was explaining, this is the time of year where you're not necessarily putting too much of a change into your actual event or the routine. What you're trying to do is fine-tune your lines, maybe work on a specific angle, trying to make things work even tighter as you head towards championship season. Again, next week, the Bears will host the GEC. The following week, there'll be the USA Gymnastics Championships being held up at Cornell. You're going to get a look at both of these two events simultaneously. Again, Bridgeport on the right in the bars, the Brown Bears on the left are on the vault. For Bridgeport, I'm sorry. Up next for the Purple Knights, I believe, is going to be Alexis Richardson. And next up on the vault for the Bears is going to be Angela Zing. And we're just waiting here. It looks like Angela waiting on the runway off your screen. Zing's top score in the vault this year, a 9.8. A student athlete who coach was very pleased with her. And look at that return on investment as Zing with a terrific vault. We'll turn our attention now to the bars. And so far, Alexis Richardson having herself a pretty good routine. This is where she'll have to transition from the low to the high and try and pick up some speed as she attends into the dismount. And lands the landing pretty well. A little teeter at the end, but not too disappointed is Richardson. Next up for Brown will be Ella Poli on the vault as Richardson collects some congratulations from her teammates. And still waiting on a score for Zhang, but based on the reaction from down the runway, seemed like the Brown student athletes were pretty excited about whatever was going on at the score table. Ella Poli's top score this season, a 9.675. Last week, Poli scoring that 9.625 on the vault. Poli, a junior out of Newton, Massachusetts, and member of a class that really had that first year cut very short. Had a couple of good results on the vault as she gets ready to take off down the runway. We'll see what she offers here in the vault. Here she goes. And Poli with some speed and able to hit the landing. Would have preferred to keep that landing perhaps a little tighter at the end, but again, not too much disappointment as Kiana Session will head to the bars for Bridgeport. Session last week, a 9.6. The first year out of Chandler, Arizona. We're still waiting on Session. The judges giving her the go-ahead. Might see another bear on the vault before Session is done. The Bears have Alyssa Gardner waiting. Well, there's Gardner. Another one of those seniors for Coach Carver Milne. She had such great things to say about this class as a whole. And here goes Gardner. Season best of 9.725. And a little stumble at the end. She knew it. Probably not the result she was going to want, but definitely went for it with some speed. Meanwhile, here's Session on the bars. A quick transition, able to land it, keeping her line straight. We're going to watch her go for some speed here into her concluding landing. And a little stumble at the end, stepping forward. You see a little frustration on her face. Only one more competitor for the Purple Knights, Catherine Doran on the bars. The Bears will have Julia Bedell coming up next on the vault. Bedell's season best on the vault, a 9.825. A very talented gymnast is Bedell, a first year out of Haverhill, Mass. And again, a student athlete that had come from the Junior Olympic program out of Northern Massachusetts, was one of the top gymnasts in the nation, one of the top 10 at Nationals back in 2018. Here she goes into the vault. And again, the Bears taking a lot of speed going into the vault, and you can see on the landing they're not quite able to stick it to the extent that they would like. So that'll bring us to the final vaulter of the day, Maylee Costa of Brown. Again, one of the top all-around gymnasts in the East. A first-team All-American on the bars back in 2020. An NCAA qualifier on the bars. And back in 2019, earned Brown's Kate Silver Award, the most outstanding first-year athlete on campus. A tremendous, tremendous competitor, and someone the Bears will miss dearly next year as she gets ready to head down the runway. Costa's top vault this year, a 9.825, and here she goes. Picks up some speed into the vault, and able to stay on the mat with her landing. Meanwhile, we'll head back to the bars very quickly in a moment as you'll watch. Speed into the vault, off the mat. Watch the landing here. Just a little step backwards for Maylee Costa. This is on the bars, Catherine Duran. A very tight landing for Duran, who did score a 9.9 on the bars a week ago. So the bars are done for Bridgeport. The vault is done for Brown. We'll try and get some of those final scores as you'll watch Duran's full routine here in return. Watch, again, the transition here very clean. She's going to want to go back to that lower bar with some speed as she turns, a very quick move. And now watch this transition off the top, comes back around. The landing so important, picks up speed, and lands it well, much to the delight. You can see the pumping of the fist from her coach over her shoulder. So that'll do it for the end of our first rotation. They're going to warm up for rotation 2 in just a moment. A couple of, well, actually, you know what? I think they're going to actually have a couple of other competitors give it a run here. Again, get some marks as we have a couple of competitors who are able to compete. We aren't handed the names of the these other competitors, but again, gives them an opportunity to get a mark with judges in the audience, so to speak. And a pretty good mark there for Duran, a 9.65 and a 9.7 to close out the bars for Bridgeport. And here are the results we've gotten so far, as we're still waiting on the results from Zing, for Costa. So Zing did score that 9.775 and Poli the 9.725. Kramer with a 9.65, and as we thought from Gardner's little hiccup at the end, the 9.525. The results still coming in on the bars. O'Coin and Richardson, 9.225 and 9.175 respectively so far. Pretty good height here, and a good result there for Bridgeport as they close out their bar competition here this evening. The teams are going to switch off. The Bears are going to come over here to the bars as we get another look at this conclusion to the bars for the Purple Knights. Smooth as silk. And as they transition from one event to the other, we're going to take a quick time out from the Pizzatola Sports Center. Bears and Purple Knights, college gymnastics action. This is the Ivy League on ESPN. Time for this second rotation of the evening. My name is Mike Rubin. It's been a pleasure bringing you all the action throughout the season as the vault gets underway with Bridgeport narrowly missing a full stumble there for the Purple Knights was Catherine O'Coin, and that's no doubt going to affect her in terms of score. We saw that a couple times with the Bears. And, when you get to this stage of the season, again, trying to get a little bit more energy, trying to get things fired up and, trying to hit a little bit more of an aggressive attempt as you're heading into the championship season in just a few days. Again, the GEC championships and the USAG Nationals over the next couple of weekends. Pretty full house here at the Pizzatola Center. Fans in attendance up top here. Pretty good crowd supporting the Bears on what is senior night. We'll run through all those seniors in a moment. Up second for the vault for Bridgeport is going to be Alexis Richardson. And we have some final scores handed to us. We'll run through them in a second. As getting set on the bars, one of Brown's seniors, Sophia Petrillo. Petrillo on the season has been a consistent performer. 9.7, her season best on the bars. Her career high, 9.8. The Massachusetts native gets up, and here goes Petrillo. Good transition on that higher of the two bars. Will now look to make a move to the lower bar and lands it cleanly. Again, will now have to hop up, pick up some speed as she heads into the dismount and the landing. And Petrillo with some speed, and she is fired up. Can always tell by the reaction, something that Coach Carver Milne has really been emphasizing to us, as Richardson on the vault just does stay on that mat, but barely. We're going to get another look at Petrillo's landing here, and you can see she's going to go around. There's 1, 2, and then into this third for the speed and little half step back. Not likely enough to cause her too many issues on the score. Again, the Bears have Maylee Costa, a former national qualifier, NCAA qualifier, will compete 6th on the bars. On the vault, the Purple Knights have 3 competitors, Catherine Duran, Kiana Session, and Olivia Imberlina, still to come. Duran had the best score on the bars for the Purple Knights with a 9.825. She's about to hit the runway here for the vault. A week ago on the vault, Duran a 9.6 right here at the Pizzatola Sports Center. Coach Carver Milne trying to get her team fired up, or trying to get the fans a little fired up for for Paige Richter, whose season best a 9.775. Also her career best, as that is Duran, having a pretty good day so far. Richter, a sophomore out of Colorado Springs, but the sophomores essentially like first years, which underscores just the incredible demands for the seniors to lead, particularly with some of them having a couple of years where they weren't on the mat very much. Weren't able to compete. Some states not able to train due to some of the indoor restrictions. And Richter with a great routine. I don't know if you noticed what I noticed, folks, but I think Taylor Schultz was off in the background getting herself into the zone. You can't really see her, and they would have been on the top right of your corner, but I hope you were focusing on that great routine there from Paige Richter. Schultz will be up next. Schultz, best score on the bars, 9.85 for the first year. Obviously, her season and career best. Kiana Session will be up next for the Purple Knights. A little bit of a tough go for Session, a 9.45 on the bars earlier. couple of the Purple Knights you can see hobbling around on crutches, so they're a little more short-handed tonight than typically. Session a week ago, a 9-6 on the vault, as she heads down the runway. And where you're looking at Schultz, Session just had perhaps one of the better vaults that we'll see. We'll see if we get another look at it in just a moment as Schultz waits for the opportunity to compete on the bars. Very good transition there for Schultz. Now has to try and get back to that high bar for the final turns and the dismount. A very nice routine for Schultz. Kept her lines pretty tight. There was one little moment on that higher bar where it looked like her arm might have buckled, but she was able to pull out of it as Olivia Imbarlina, who scored a 9-7 last week on the vault, will head down the runway for the Purple Knights. Here goes Imberlina, the first year from Pittsburgh. A tough landing and then off the mat. And that's going to cost her for sure some penalty deductions. It looked like she was a little out of control, didn't get great height off the vault. She might not have hit it well. And meanwhile, down the other end, Abby Contello will be next for Brown on the uneven bars. Contello's top score on the bars, a 9.825. And here comes Contello, the junior out of Baldwinsville, New York. Contello has also competed on the beam this year for Brown. Came in as an all-around gymnast. A lot of energy from the Bears on the mat. Contello, a very good landing as well. Coach Carver Milne saying that the Bears are peaking at the right time, and so far, that has certainly been the case. Watch Contello here. That is a very quick transition. Great lines. Watch the transition back up to the top, and now the landing is just pure. Little half step back might cost her a quarter of a point, but pretty high degree of difficulty. Ella Poli and Maylee Costa, the last two to compete for Brown on the bars. Already Bridgeport has concluded the vault. Poli, again, the junior out of Newton, Mass. Her best score this year on the bars for Poli, 9.8. The season and career best. Poli waiting for the signal from the judges that they are ready for her, because she's absolutely appears ready for them. So far, Poli, a very clean routine, good transition on the turn. She'll now look to pick up some speed for the landing once, twice, so here it comes. Pretty complicated routine for Poley. Came out of the landing well, had a little bit of crouch on her back, but was able to get herself back up, and Poley with a good routine as well, as the Bears continue to do very well this evening on the bars. Much to the delight of the Bear faithful. And again, a great crowd on hand today. This upper level, we got some fans here. The painted chests on a Friday night. A lot of the other student athletes in attendance, the parents. And again, senior night, always so emotional. For Brown, their senior class, you know, kind of a range of contributions to the team. Maylee Costa, we've talked about her competitive advantage that she gives the Bears, one of the best bar competitors in Brown history. You have an Alyssa Gardner, who has given the Bears some consistent performances on the bars, the vault, and the floor exercise. You have a competitor like Sophia Miller, who, despite not finding her way into the lineup on meet days, has absolutely been one of those consistent presences in the room at practice, driving her teammates forward and keeping them focused. According to Coach Carver Milne, Abby Walsh, another competitor who has given the Bears some great opportunities on the floor exercise. As here comes Maylee Costa, more on the rest of the seniors in just a moment. You want to take in everything that Maylee Costa provides. A 9.975, a school record in the bars. You know, maybe not her best landing, but certainly one of a very tight routine for Maylee Costa. You watch, she gets up. And look at the speed, very quickly transitioning into the different elements of her bar routine. Just the pace with which she transitions from one bar to the other. And again, watch this landing just a little bit on that right leg back step. Right there. Again, not too shabby. I believe I definitely saw Lauren Kramer warming up, but this is not Lauren Kramer. I want to say I missed her face before she started competing. And a little stumble at the end. So again, when you have the judges here, you try and get a couple of extra marks for athletes that have been competing all season long. But I think that is, in fact, going to do it for our second rotation. When we head to the third and the fourth, the Bears are going to conclude on the floor exercise. So Bridgeport will be on the floor exercise and then conclude on the beam. Brown heads to the beam next. And a reminder that next weekend, the Brown Bears will be competing and hosting the GEC Championships. And The GEC Gymnastics East Conference Championships featuring, again, all of the teams that compete in the Gymnastics East Conference. Brown, Cornell, Southern Connecticut, Bridgeport, Penn, Westchester, William and Mary, and Yale. And the week after, the national championships will be hosted at Cornell, and that's the USAG National Championships being hosted at Cornell. And the 13 schools that typically compete in that: the Air Force Academy, Brown, Centenary from down in Louisiana, Cornell, Lindenwood, Seattle Pacific, Southeast Missouri, Southern Connecticut, Texas Women's University, Bridgeport, Illinois, Chicago, Westchester, and Yale. And of those teams, not everybody enters into the team competition. Some teams just have individuals, and that is really going to be predicated by what happens at the Eastern Gymnastics East Conference Championships next week. Right now, we're going to take a timeout. They're going to warm themselves up for the beam for Brown and the floor exercise for Bridgeport, respectively. We'll take a timeout. We'll be back here with the second half of tonight's competition from the pits. This is the Ivy League on ESPN. Get ready for the floor exercise. Trailing the Bears here after 2 rotations. Our score 97.075 for Brown, 94.075 for Bridgeport. And we're going to run through a couple of the scores on that vault for Bridgeport. We mentioned a coin with the 885, 935 for Alexis Richardson, Duran the 9575, and Session a 9625 to lead all vaulters for Bridgeport. Imberlina a 9325, again the high degree of difficulty. For the Bears on the bars, led by the 985 for Maylee Costa. Paige Richter contributing a 9725. For Richter, that 9725, just a half a point off of her season best. On the floor for Bridgeport is Gabrielle Jordan. The Bears will lead off with Lauren Lazaro on the beam. A week ago, Jordan with an 8.55 on the floor, which tells me there were probably a couple of penalties. Lazaro on the beam, a 9.65, was one of the higher scores for the day. So far, Jordan, we'll see how she does with her next pass. Taking it a little bit slower. Not really too risky a routine for Jordan, but she's able to get a clean result nonetheless. And there's Lazaro on the beam. Again, speaking to Coach Carver Milne, what you're looking for at this stage of the season is tightening execution. You're not necessarily making too many adjustments to what that routine looks like or the elements. Lazaro almost cracking a smile there. That was a pretty tough turn. And another little jump there that she's able to land in balance. Yeah, she's happy. You could tell the expression on the face, so comfortable, so confident. Let's see what Lazaro offers here as she concludes. That was one of She is thrilled, and she knows it. There was absolutely not, I'm not going to say it was flawless, but she is fired up. And congratulations to Lauren Lazaro. A great routine. Her top beam score of the year was 9.675. I've got to believe that's an almost near perfect landing for her. So I've got to believe that Lauren Lazaro, as she receives some congratulations from her head coach, is going to have a season best. Career best 9.825. Might be a little tall order to get to that mark. Next up on the floor, Catherine O'Coin for Bridgeport. For Brown, Lauren Kramer. Oh, I'm sorry. For Brown, I was looking at the floor lineup. I'm sorry. For Brown, Addie Liebhart. I could have just looked at the screen. I would have seen that Liebhart was getting ready. Liebhart's top score on the beam this year, 9.7. A little bit of a delay here, waiting for some of the scores. And Liebhart last week, a 9.5 on the beam against the same Bridgeport team. Some people might ask, hey, why are Brown and Bridgeport competing against each other so often? Well, for Bridgeport, the way their schedule has progressed this year, they're pretty close by. It's an opportunity to get another competition in, especially with the championships just on the other side of this. So this will be actually the third week in a row that, third time in the last couple of weeks that the Bears will have seen Bridgeport here. They opened up here on January 30th with Southern Connecticut. And then the following week, we're at Westchester with Cortland State and Brown. And then here last week on March 6th. And then again here as Liebhart gets to work on the beam. I feel like I know this song. Well, now they've lost me. First part reminded me of something. Liebhart, a good landing. I always wonder if you're on the beam, if the music from the floor exercise can sometimes throw you off. It didn't seem to bother Liebhart all that much. Second tumble pass. For O'Coin. Second competitor on the floor for Bridgeport. We'll see how she does with this next pass. Good speed. And a little stumble at the end. Almost came off the mat. She might have crossed that white line just enough to warrant a penalty as her routine comes to an end. For Brown, heading back over to the beam, McKenna Weiner will be next on the beam. McKenna's top score this season, a 9.65. The Bears will honor their seniors after the event. And talking to Coach Carver Milne, the unique experience of the senior class, what they've meant to this team. They knew it was going to be an emotional ceremony, and they wanted to make sure that they honored their seniors, that they gave their seniors their opportunity to compete at a high level, and they knew that doing so after the ceremony, competing would be very difficult, a lot of raw emotion for this team. And the good news is they get to compete right here at their gym one more time next week when they host the GEC championships, but a little different than necessarily the senior day. And as I was talking to Coach Carver Milne, the senior day events, regardless of the sport, it represents for many student athletes the end of a journey. For a lot of families, the end of a journey that oftentimes started so early in childhood and have progressed through a lot of twists and turns, none more dramatic than the adversity and resilience faced by this class of 2022, for which Coach Carver Milne and her team have a debt of gratitude that may never fully be understood by the lay people away from the program. A little bit of a delay here. You can see a pretty good crowd on hand. You know, all areas of the gym pretty well attended, so to speak. And there's some student fans behind the beam area. And kudos to the facilities folks who really have to again, it's a 3-ring circus. This is a 4-ring circus, gymnastics. But, you know, you go from gymnastics to basketball and oftentimes wrestling and volleyball as well when you're in the earlier part of the season. And the delay here is that the two officials on the beam had, I think, a discrepancy. And so they are reviewing the scores. And consequently, that's led to a delay here for the start of the next competitor on the floor. And if that score holds up, I think Liebhart might have herself one of her top scores. But the wait for McKenna Weiner, you know, you're all warmed up, you're ready to go. And then you got to wait and wait and wait some more while the officials sort things out. So now McKenna will get up on the beam. McKenna, a sophomore, but again, when you're a sophomore after last year, essentially like a first-year competitor. Out of Weston, Connecticut is McKenna Weiner. Was a 9-time qualifier for the Connecticut State Championship and made an appearance at the National Championship. So that's a very good turn on top of the beam. Career high on the beam, 9.65. As on to the mat, I want to say, is Olivia Imbarlina for the floor exercise. A little turn there on the right you saw from Weiner. Kind of twisted a little bit to her right, but managed to maintain her balance. A lot of energy from Imbarlina as now it looks like Weiner's going to head into her dismount. And she's thrilled. Again, The Bears are, as Coach Carver Milne said to me a couple days ago, the Bears are really peaking at the right spot. And Berlina with a good pass. And Barlina with a good floor routine. Again, the first couple of scores on the floor are in. We're going to get a look here at McKenna Weiner. Just a tremendous job on this dismount. If she's able to get those two ankles a little closer together on her dismount, she'll even pick up another 1/10 of a point, and that was after a very solid routine. For Brown, two more competitors due here today on, three more due on the beam. Weiner just the third. Angela Zing, Abby Cantello, and Taylor Schultz will be up on the beam. Three more competitors on the floor for Bridgeport will be Alexis Richardson next, followed by Crystal Gwynn and Kiana Session. There's Angela Zhang waiting. She's next as she gets ready to get up on the beam. Zing's best beam score this year, just a 9.65, a little lower than her top floor and vault results. Just able to hang on there. See if she can recover that. Probably enough for a slight deduction, but again was able to maintain balance on the beam. The degree of difficulty on this routine for Zing is going to help her score, even as she has a couple of deductions. Zing will get ready to dismount here on the beam and off the mat. So, Zing knew it. Not her best routine, but smiling about it as we head back to the floor and Alexis Richardson for Bridgeport. Good pass there for Richardson. Here comes Richardson into her next pass. And able to land cleanly in that corner without taking a little step off the mat. And as we expected, some pretty good scores coming from over on the beam as McKenna Weiner, I think, has just hit her career best with a 9.725 has come in. Abby Contello, Taylor Schultz still to compete for Brown on the beam. Contello's best beam score of the season, 9.7 for the junior out of Baldwinsville, New York. Again, gymnasts awarded points in the beam based on their execution, technique, and artistry. And she's fallen off, so that will be a major deduction. Now Contello wanting to finish this routine. There's the turn and able to save it. As Crystal Gwynn on the floor on the left side of your screen for Bridgeport. And able to hit that final turn. Disappointed, you could see on her face because of the fall. As Gwynn heads into her final pass. I'm thinking that's actually her first pass, actually. Apologies. Always fun to see how the gymnasts on the side of the floor all know their teammates' routines so well. Gwynn did not compete last week for Bridgeport on the floor. Kiana Session, who is their last gymnast to compete today, did score a 9.8 last week, one of her top scores of the season. Actually was her top score of the season. And here comes the pass. The twist into the landing. And that's Quinn for Bridgeport. Bears with Taylor Schultz left to compete on the beam. And you'll see there's that stumble. Just didn't get that leg, the foot, to hit that landing. But, you know, got back up, did Abby Contello. Able to save, as you'll see her landing coming here in a moment. There's those elements, the front twist. Again, the confidence that it requires after you come off the beam to get back up and finish. Schultz has been, again, a rock star for the Bears in a number of events this year. Her top beam score, 9.875. First year with a bright future out of San Antonio. Schultz, a junior Olympic national championship qualifier and a regional beam champion back in 2018. And she knows she landed that. There's a good leap, a good split leap again. And now you can see the confidence starting to brim on the face of Taylor Schultz. Another good leap, a turn. A twist. I got to tell you, if she's not in the 9.8, 9.9 range, I'll be shocked. Get another look in a minute at that dismount and landing. But the acrobatic skills of Taylor Schultz on display as Kiana Session steps up for the final floor exercise. And actually the final competitor of this turn of our meet. This rotation, as it were, the fourth one on the way. An important pass here for Session. We'll see how aggressively she takes it into that front flip and does land it well. See Kiana having some fun out there on the mat. Got some height, a great landing. And Kiana Session having a good routine here to cap the floor for Bridgeport. The Bears are going to work with getting another mark here on the beam. Alexis Richardson scoring so far the highest mark for Bridgeport on the floor with a 9.525, and for Brown. Senior Sophia Miller out of Bear, Delaware. Again, really embodying all the qualities of the work ethic that Coach Carver Milne wants in this team. And on her senior day, Sophia Miller. You know, an 8.75, her top score as an exhibition competitor, but again, getting an opportunity to perform here and compete. Couple of seniors hugging it out with Maylee Costa. And again, the hardest part sometimes for being a senior is watching it all pass away at the end of your career when you've given so much to a sport that you hope has given it back to you. And you can see by the embraces that this team has so much respect for one of their captains, senior Sophia Miller. We're going to get another look at that conclusion of Schultz. Look at that landing. And just by that expression, I don't know a whole heck of a lot, admittedly, about the point deductions of judging this sport. But you could tell, based on that she was pretty happy with that result. And, you know, we'll get those results to you in just a minute. They're still tabulating some of the results down there. I think she was up in the 9.8 range, possibly 9.9. And again, her top score this year, 9.875. So hard to, you know, depending on the judge, sometimes a little bit tricky to transcend some of those numbers, but not for lack of effort there from Taylor Schultz. And all you can do really is hope that the routine that you put together as a coaching staff with your gymnast and its execution meet the favor of the judge that next week when that on a week-to-week basis. Because on a week-to-week basis at this point, again, talking to the coaches, you're not making wholesale changes as much as you are trying to tighten up some of the execution. And these two teams will be back here next week when we welcome the GEC championships. For now, we're going to take another timeout, and we'll just step aside for a quick moment. Oh, no, you know what? Nope, the Bears are going to get another exhibition competitor out there. I was waiting on that, and I'm glad I didn't go to timeout right away because we would have missed this one. The Bears are happy with this so far. Good split jump there. Look at Taylor Schultz's reaction. The left of your screen, just watching the emotion, the raw joy for the Bears in this exhibition here. I believe Maya Davis. I was just watching the reaction of some of the gymnasts around the mat. That's got to make a lot of people proud. That's a great landing, too. And she knew it. But again, the excitement, the immediate embrace from, I believe that was Asta Solilia Farrell, who's not competing tonight, out with an injury. The Bears will finish their meet on the floor. Bridgeport will head to the beam. I'm just trying to see if the Bears have somebody else getting warmed up for the beam. It's hard to tell sometimes whether a couple of those ladies have already competed. And breaking 9 was that routine there from Davis. And they're going to fix the mat, so we are going to get another gymnast on the beam for Brown. That's Lauren McEwen. McEwen's top score, 9.725 on the beam this year. Did compete as a first year back in 2020 with a 9.2. And a little too aggressive there. Ended up popping off the mat. Just missed that second turn on the back turn with her right foot. I'm going to try and not fall a second time. So McEwen has fallen a couple of times, but looking to finish strong here. And a good landing. You can see she's a little disappointed, but she has the, oh, what just happened there look on her face, but was able to keep herself going and got back up each time she hit the mat, so to speak. Not sure if the Bears have anybody else who's going to go to the exhibition. I don't believe so. As they start their rotation, and they will report to their fourth event. And that'll give us an opportunity to pause here on ESPN. We'll take a timeout. We'll be back here with the fourth and final event from the Pizzatola Sports Center. The Bears will head to the floor. The Purple Knights to the beam when we come back. Brown Bears have opened up a 3-point lead through 3 rotations, leading Bridgeport here for the second straight week as we head to the fourth and final rotation for our entire outstanding ESPN team. My name is Mike Rubin. Thanks for making us a part of your Friday evening. Senior night for the Bears and their class of 22. It has been a unique ride for this class, for sure. And again, talking to head coach Sarah Carver-Milne, just a ton of respect and acknowledging that there will be a lot of tears this evening as Brown says farewell, at least on the dual meet side, the regular season side, to this senior class. May Lee Costa, Alyssa Gardner, Sophia Miller, Sophia Petrillo, and Abby Walsh. A team that has really come together nicely this year as a result of their commitment, their selflessness, and their continuous and consistent ability to put their team first. And amidst some incredible adversity over these last couple of years, competing on the floor for Brown, Lauren Lazaro, Lauren Kramer, Abby Walsh, Carol Ann Van Zant, Angela Zing, and Julia Bedell. On the beam for Bridgeport, Catherine O'Coin, Alexis Richardson, Kiana Session, Olivia Imbarlina, Catherine Doran, and Nicole Javanette. That's O'Coin. Some final numbers on the beam, as I expected. Taylor Schultz with a very impressive 9.8. Lazaro, the 9.75. Weiner, the 9.725. On the floor for Bridgeport, Kiana Session with a 9.75, just a half point shy. I'm sorry, a half hundredth of a point. Let me say that again. 5/100th of a point shy of her score last weekend when she registered a 9.8. This is Brown's Lauren Lazaro on the left side of your screen. Into that first pass, and a tremendous landing. Lazaro is having herself quite a day. Again, that 9.75 on the beam was a great start for her, and now here on the floor, she's got some spring. Her best score on the floor this year has been a 9.7. Here comes Lazaro's next pass. And she hits it. And she knows it. Look at the unbridled joy and she knows it as she slaps the mat. Oh, that was awesome. I think one of the things that you get in this sport that you don't always see, I call a lot of sports where there are, goals or hits or, I'm thinking hits in baseball, not necessarily hits in hockey. Watch this reaction. That front side flip and that landing, and she knew it as soon as she comes to a close. Just terrific. Up next, waiting for her turn on the beam, is Alexis Richardson. One of, it looks like 3 or 4 gymnasts for Bridgeport who are all around. They're competing in all 4 events. The Bears do not have anyone right now who's slated to be an all-around. And, honestly, I don't foresee that happening. I think there has yet to be a Bear this season who's registered a mark in all 4 events. And even Maylee Costa has never competed in the collegiate level on the floor. She is absolutely one of the favorites to take a GEC championship next week in the bars. And again, you talk about the senior class as we're watching Richardson, a grad student for Bridgeport, as they have to sort through the scores for Brown's Lauren Lazaro. See what Richardson offers here. Is a good split jump. Again, the artistic elements and the acrobatic elements both contribute to a gymnast's overall score. Pretty clean overall for Richardson. She doesn't seem thrilled. A little hiccup there, but not really enough for what you would call a major deduction. I thought it was pretty good landing as well for Richardson. So, the judges have finished sorting out whatever they needed to with Lazaro's score as Kiana Session. A week ago, Session on the floor, a 9.8. I'm sorry, on the beam, a 9.325. For Brown last week, Lauren Kramer, who will be on the floor, scored a 9.7. A tough pass for Kramer. She didn't get enough height, and as a result, ended up landing on her knees. See if Kramer can rebound here with the second pass. A little stumble, but didn't fall. Yeah, you could see she's a little disappointed. She knew it after that first. It suddenly got very quiet in here. Session will be up next on the beam for Bridgeport. Again, a little debate here on the Alexis Richardson score from the judges on the beam. Brown will compete. Looks like Abby Walsh will be next, and Walsh, one of those seniors again. The consummate teammate, according to Coach Carver Milne. And again, the challenge for Abby Walsh, being from Michigan. COVID hit Michigan hard. Michigan had a lot of shutdowns, and gymnasts had to really, you have to get that mental edge back when you spend a lot of time away from the sport, not able to compete, not able to practice. And, to see Abby Walsh back on the mat is a credit to her for sure. Her commitment to her sport, and, again, it's a credit to her perseverance because, again, the restrictions in Michigan, very, very challenging. So here's Walsh, and you can see the team already getting behind her. Walsh's top floor exercise, the 9.75 this season. You can watch the teammates. They know the routine by heart. First pass here for Walsh. And some tremendous height. Off to a good start. Walsh, who has a sister who's also a collegiate gymnast, competes for Auburn University down in the Southeast Conference. Good front. Forward jump, for Walsh. So far, everything from Walsh has been very tight so far. And that first pass was pretty aggressive. They have the mat in the middle of, shall be her target. Front and hit it. And she is pumped up because she knew she just had a tremendous routine here on senior day. Nobody's putting their hands down until she gives them a couple of fives, a 10. Great work out of the White Lake, Michigan native, Abby Walsh. Three gymnasts down on the floor. Watch this tumble pass here from Walsh, that front. Just a great landing as well into that concluding element and the energy. Kiana Session on the beam for Bridgeport. Took a little while to get her up there. as there was some discussion on the Alexis Richardson routine. About 10 days ago, Bridgeport had its senior day, and they won one for their seniors with a victory over Rhode Island College. Now on the mat for Brown is Caroline Van Zant. Van Zant, 9.775, her top score on the floor. Her teammates know when her execution is on, you can hear it. And you can see again the energy that comes from these gymnasts. Good extension. It's incredible how well her teammates know her routine. She'll be heading into her second pass here. Very clean landing with some pace. So far, the Bears' floor exercise has been excellent. I'm trying to keep an eye on some of those scores as they come in. Watch the second pass here from Van Zant. Watch this landing. Again, does get that left leg out a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be enough to be too much of a deduction. Again, with the elements complexity. Waiting for the call to the beam is Olivia Imbarlina. The Bears will be sending Angela Zing onto the mat for the floor, down to their final two competitors as Imberlina works on the beam, and that's a very nice turn for her as far as her acrobatic elements. These are more of your artistic elements. Again, that front side flip, and then the leg split is a jump. A week ago, Imbarlina, a 9.675 on the beam. Looks to be well approaching that score here today, as on the mat. Just stepping off there a touch was Angela Zing. So Zing, who on the floor last week registered a 9.825, including a 9.9 from one of the judges. Again, that foot on that first pass came just a hair over the line on the corner. Not sure if that's going to cause her too many problems. Zing will head to the corner where she will approach for her next pass. Coming from that far to the near side. Oh, maybe she's going to head over to the other corner, I'm sorry. Head back there. Here she'll go. Deep breath. And a very nice landing that time from Angela Zing. pretty solid routine. I don't know if it's going to have the numbers to break last week's 9.825 in terms of the execution, as Catherine Duran will head on to the beam for Bridgeport. The referees, the officials, the referees. You can tell it's been a long night for me as they confer on Zing's score on the floor. Duran, a 9.55 on the beam last week. It would appear that Brown's floor scores are higher than the beam scores so far for Bridgeport, which should seal this victory for the Brown Bears on Senior Day. And again, it's not necessarily about the scores today as much as it is about tightening those executions for next week's GEC championships. Following the GEC championships, of course, the USAG national championships at Cornell. A good landing for Duran. She had a couple of moments that were a little nervy moments while on top of the beam. You'll see a couple of them perhaps here on this replay. No, we're going to get a look at her dismount. Not too shabby, but again, kind of that element where she's tilted a little bit midway. So this will be the final competitor of the night for Brown, scoring-wise, is Julia Bedell on the floor. Last week, a 9.875, her season best floor exercise. Watch for her execution, high degree of difficulty, and stays on the mat. You know, you look at that foot, and you say, okay, it's a little close to the chalk, but it doesn't pass it. As Julia Bedell looks to wrap up what would be a dual meet victory for Brown here on Senior Day. Heads into her second pass here. One, two, three. And that's Julia Bedell of the Bears wrapping up the floor exercise and what has been a pretty successful competition here this evening for Brown on Senior Day, with Nicole Javanette still to compete on the beam for Bridgeport. Javanette, who had a 9.125 last week. Will be the final competitor. Unless there's any exhibitions, I think Sophia Miller, the Brown senior, is going to get an opportunity here on the floor exercise to highlight some of her skills. A classy move by Coach, allowing one of her seniors who, again, doesn't usually crack the top six, but has been such a critical part of this team's culture, both in and out of the locker room, for the duration of her career. So Javanette now on the beam. You could see as she was coming back, she was veering off to our right, and you could see that element was coming to a kind of dicey close because she was slipping. Didn't stay in a straight line. Sophia Miller for Brown getting ready to start her floor exercise as an exhibition here on Senior Day, as Javanette will conclude here on the beam. The Purple Knights almost there, lost her balance. Again, that line a little off. And again, some nervy moments on the dismount as well for Javanette. A 9.125 last week will probably be around that mark again today, as Sophia Miller will get her moment here with the floor exercise. Here's the fall. You can see she's turning towards her right. That second to last turn. And then this. Here comes Miller. Didn't quite get the best height on that end and almost face planted, but was able to pull herself out of it. Miller's second pass. A couple of front flips and Sophia Miller, one of the Brown seniors, again, who has meant so much to this program. With the conclusion of her routine, that may do it for the evening. We'll just wait for some of the final scores to be forwarded up here, and looks like the Bears are going to have enough for the dual meet victory. Nope, yep, they're already in. So we're going to recap some of the final scores, as on the floor, Julia Bedell with the 9.75, and the final in for Caroline Van Zant. Caroline Van Zant, a 9.875, a new season high for her, a new career high for her in the floor, and the final scores. Well, you know what? We'll run through them in just a moment. We'll take a step back, and we'll be right back here at the pits to wrap things up on senior night. This is the Ivy League on ESPN. Who have been able to get a couple of gymnasts their results here today. That's Alyssa Gardner, another senior. Again, wrapping up her career, was second team All-Ivy on vault, and was a first team USAG All-American back in 2019 on the beam. Competed on the vault earlier this evening. Her season best as a sophomore back in 2020 was 9.75 on the floor. And Gardner this year has a 9.575 to her credit. Again, that career best of 9.75. And after this, we'll be able to run through some of the final scores for you, as it appears the Bears have come away with at least a 4.25 point win. Again, the Bears letting their seniors have a moment on what everyone loves as gymnasts, that floor exercise. And you can see Gardner getting her emotion going. Gardner will likely head back toward the corner and then come for her second tumble. A moment there with her assistant coach who gives her the "you've got this." And Gardner with a great second pass. Jay Villegas knew it. And that, again, for their seniors. Look at how much fun Alyssa Gardner just had. So we're going to run through the final scores. It looks like Brown has come away with a 193.5 to a 189.25 score. The Bears with the top 5 results on the vault today, led by Angela Zing and Maylee Costa, who scored 9.775 and 9.75 respectively. May Lee with a 9.85 on the bars, as well as Paige Richter's 9.725. Good for first and third. Catherine Duran in second with a 9.825. Brown had the top 3 scores on the beam as well. Schultz with a 9.8, Lazaro a 9.75, and McKenna Weiner with a 9.725. Brown with the top 3 scores on the floor, 9.875, 9.75 apiece for Van Zant, Walsh, and Bedell. Always great to see the seniors with so many contributions. So that'll do it for us here from the Pizzatola Sports Center with our final score: Brown 193.5, Bridgeport 189.25 to the class of 2022 for both clubs, really. A heartfelt thank you for all you have brought to this sport at your respective schools. And for us, we'll see you next week when Brown hosts the GEC Championships. For our entire ESPN team, my name is Mike Rubin saying good night from the Pizzatola Sports Center. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and have a great night.